Hi, everybody. Welcome. Welcome. I'm Gabe Michael. I'm the VP and Executive Producer of AI at Edelman. If you're unfamiliar with Edelman, we're one of the largest private Marcom agencies in the world. I work within the production department there, where I'm bringing on tons of AI tools, testing them, vetting them. But I also work across our AI product team, which I'll dive into in just a moment. So before Edelman, I spent some time in leadership roles throughout history. I have an adventurous side as well. Went and into the forest of Indiana, spent some time chasing down some bad guys that we can't say. And eventually made my way up to space, where I like to spend my weekends. And I also like to ride very dangerously through cyber cities. And most recently, sorry, my little pet Rover too is with very generous arms there. And then I was inaugurated and did a different type of salute. But so my actual background is I've been a filmmaker and a producer for over 20 years. Recently, around 2 or 3 years ago, I got into the AI space when I did a project with Facebook. It was Facebook at the time, not Meta, and Facebook Messenger, where we took a novel that was from James Patterson, the author, and we turned it into a Facebook Messenger experience, where we went out and we shot tons of assets out in New Orleans, video, still photos, supposed to be like a mystery. And we used early chatbot technology to create this book event where the lead character would go and take and walk you through the entire mystery. You could ask it questions, things like that. So I early on saw the promise of this. But about last year, actually, I started following AI, or 2 years ago, I started following AI a little bit closer. And I saw what was happening with the video space, with the image space. And I said, I gotta go all in on this. I just have to follow this path and see where it's going to take me. And I ended up signing up for, if you guys have heard of Runway, they're the AI video generation and AI tool set company. And I said, I'm going to just do this Gen 48 contest. It's a 48-hour film festival where they give you all the credits that you would need. You don't have to buy anything. I said, that's perfect. I don't want to waste a dime of my own money trying to figure out if this is something I want to pursue or not. Ended up winning that as one of the winners for that festival. And then I tried it again a couple months later for their second edition and was a winner of that one as well. Don't ask me about the third one, okay? So from that, Edelman brought me on to assess what kind of tools that they're bringing on in the corporate and the enterprise environment, but also how are we going to integrate these tools into our production pipelines? What are the best ways to look at these? What can the tools actually do, and what are they terrible at? And I can tell you a lot of that one. But for today, we're going to talk about our Edelman AI tool landscape report. We wrote this report as a group within the AI product team, which I kind of sit across that and production. And we believe that AI tools are transforming everyday life, business, and then especially for us, production. If you want a copy of the report, you can do it there. I'll put it up again at the very end. So within our research for this report, we looked across 6 different categories here. Major LLMs, we call them, which are all the ones that you guys know and aware, except for DeepSeek. It's not on there. Writing, research, analysis, design, we call this. We're really design and creative tools, and then ideation. Today, we're going to focus on the design aspect of it. Through our tool report, we had and this is for the tool report, but also how we look at different tools and bringing them on. Our methodology is we look over numerous tools for each individual sector. We identify what tools would best suit us, what ones would suit the different categories. And then we go through a multiple rigorous step process to eventually, through surveys, through talking to the individual vendors, to just kind of blind assessments, and then working with our individual contributors to see who would work well, or what tools would work well with the different departments. And then we ended up coming up with 4 enterprise-ready markers, which led to 6 core use cases of the defined tools through our 8-stage evaluation. And our 6 core use cases were writing for the entire process was writing, ideation, synthesis, research, design, and creative tools. I really fought them. I said it should be design and creative tools, but they left it as design and analysis. Today, we're focusing on design. For our categories, what we looked for was tools that were very versatile, that crossed many numerous categories, but it was really broken down into audio tools, image-based generators, video generators, and then some that kind of were multimodal, across like ChatGPT with Dolly and now Sora, and then Canva. And what we found, our criteria for looking at tools is we have to assess enterprise level readiness. We have to see, are there currently enterprise plans that exist? Are they on the roadmap for a certain company to have enterprise ready a plan? Do they support single sign-on? It's very important to my IT department. Do they have SOC 2 and are they scalable? These things, if you work in an organization as long as mine, take months and months just to even get the right paperwork to get to the point where we can do a trial, to get to the point where we can actually start using these. So, but then we also look at the legal and ethical considerations. We obviously look at intellectual property. What is the training data behind a lot of the sets that a company works with? And is there any sort of transparency? Like right now, the bar is very low. Is there anything at all? Any sort of thing that you can tell us about the training data that we can say that that there is some sort of ethical use or guideline? And then we give the tools benchmarks. Are they accurate? What can they do? Can an average everyday person use the tool? Or does it have to be somebody who's super highly technical? Obviously, if you're in this room, you're probably a little more on the technical side. So you guys will probably pass with flying colors. But a good portion of my company wants these tools, can't afford our internal production company, and wants to use these on their own. So can we give at least a portion of these tools to our broader teams? And then what are the terms of service? I spend too much of my day taking terms of service and dropping into ChatGPT and asking it questions to see what is the right usage for our company. But really, like, what are the ownership principles? You'd be really surprised to see some of the main tools out there that you've probably heard of, which I'm not mentioning right now, that do not have great terms at all. That put all the liability straight back on you and straight back onto the company, and then pass that on to your clients. And so that's all found in the terms of services that we have to look through. And then do they meet our company's compliance requirements? Surprise, surprise, or no surprise if you know anything about corporate. Our recommendation for image generation is Firefly within Adobe. And a lot of these are kind of across the same benchmarks. And mostly because, and this is not, when you look at this, you'll see that we have image, roadmap, video, audio across the ecosystem and roadmap. Obviously, Adobe has come out with a beta for video, right? At the time, they didn't have that, and we don't look at betas. We look at full things that are fully in the market when we do this assessment. So Firefly is trained, or they say it's trained on their stock library. They go back and then they'll tell you what any image can be ethically sourced from their library. But then the best thing about Adobe is they give you indemnification. So they're putting their money where their mouth is for the most part. We have to pay for that. We pay a very high price for that indemnification package, but they give it to you, right? So it's kind of an insurance against us, where they're taking at least in ours like $1 million hit if for some reason somebody can prove that this was unethically sourced. So for us and for our clients, that is very important. For audio, 11 Labs, it's one of the best ones out there. They give transparent information of all of their data, where their voices come from. And then they hit all of the benchmarks for integration into within their API to many of the services that we're providing, but also for the things that we build. And then as a standalone tool for doing scratch audio or even just voiceover recommendations. So we use this all the time across numerous teams, not just production. And then our video recommendation is the only thing that is safe right now for video, and it's Runway. And they're the only ones that have some sort of terms that hit any sort of identification and give some sort of inkling to where their data set is from. But Runway, if you've never played around with it, it hits many different tool sets. It has video generation, text to image or text to video, image to video generation, but it also has a suite of sound effects or special effects tools within it. It does auto rotoscoping. It can remove backgrounds of single images. So you start to see if you're scouting the space that a lot of these companies are now doing the same thing or having the similar tools. Okay, so I think I just said for creative and design, image generation, Firefly, is it the best tool on the market? In my personal opinion, no. For my personal projects, use Midjourney all day long. I use FreePic, I use Flux in order to generate those things for me, but I'm not a billion-dollar brand, right? So when we, and a lot of my creatives on my teams are very sad that we have to use this all the time. And this is no offense to Adobe. The model keeps getting better and better. But when it first started, it started to look a lot like, stock imagery, right? Because that's what it's trained on. But now it's with new synthetic data and some other data sources that they're pulling in, it's getting better. But this leads, and I'll show you an example in a couple minutes, is Adobe's entire ecosystem is built around Firefly. So Firefly is it's a misnomer because it's their image generation model. You say, I generated this in Firefly, but it's also the engine that drives everything of theirs within Adobe. So when you're talking about, and if you're in an Adobe editor in Premiere, you can connect, Firefly is connected to that for the Gen Fill, for Photoshop. It's connected to it for all their sound models. And now they're starting to sell individual licenses for certain components within Adobe Creative Cloud. Runway, this fun video right here is we did a challenge on our, we did a test for our creatives to see, can you learn how to use Runway in 60 days or less? And one of the challenges would come up with a brand that doesn't exist, but create a commercial for it. So this was the Godzilla soda. And this was all generated with, I believe maybe because we said you could use non-brand safe for this, I believe there was some Midjourney imagery in this, but it was mostly animated through Runway and then After Effects as well. Things don't come out and look like this, right? When they come out, they come out as individual shots that you then go into your normal video editing pipeline or After Effects pipeline, and you work on it as, that was footage, or if it was a raw image, right? But beyond, what I've already talked about, we like Runway because of what you can do with it. They have their own API that can be built into other tools. They're somewhat responsible, or the most responsible one that we can currently find. And then just the integration and the workflow for how our team currently works. Now I'm going to switch gears just a little bit. This is what everybody wants, right? It's the infamous button. You push it, you get an ad, or you get a video. It's the magic button, right, that everybody's searching for. You put in a prompt, you get a fully fleshed thing. But I'm sad to say there is no magic button. It doesn't exist. But there are lots of magic buttons, right? And we call them tools. And tools work together. You can use one independently if you need to, or you can use them in step. You can use them multiple tools to do similar jobs, right? And that's the way that we're looking at it. We're not looking at like a one-click, one-prompt solution. We're looking at to build things at a time. If you're making a video with Runway or with any sort of image or video generator, you're doing it shot by shot. You're not going in and you're not saying, give me an entire movie or give me an entire ad. You're still thinking like a producer, thinking like a director, because then you're replacing certain processes, but you are essentially going shot by shot to build that. If you're generating an image, it's not a final image. You still have to go through our image teams. You have to go through post-processing. You have to color correct. You have to use lots of gen fill usually in order to make it work. So you have to put in the work to it. So this is something I made in about 15 minutes. This is a animation of our logo, right? And to do this, simple, right? It's a person drawing a logo within a time lapse. But to do this, I did a multi-step process, right? I took the Edelman logo, put it into Adobe Firefly, and this is all brand safe. We could put this out if we wanted to. Put it into Firefly, and then I did a style transfer with this sketch look that I wanted it to be. I wanted a person to sketch this thing. And then I used Runway to do that output from Firefly to put into Runway as the prompt, a time-lapse shot of a drawing of a sketch from start to finish. And within Runway, you have the option you put an image as the first frame or the last frame. So if you've ever done any sort of animation, you may be familiar with the term tweening. So Runway can do that. You put what you want the video to start looking like, and then you put the image that you want it to end looking like, and then it'll animate in between there. And it just happened to do that for this particular one. Now this is where we try to put a lot of tools together. And, from my personal side, from the artist side, I've done this a lot, but this was one of our first quick brand experiments that we did. So we built what's called a custom model. Some people call them LoRa's. Adobe they call them custom models. And what we did is we took a picture of this cat. It's a real life cat figurine. And we used a technique that's called photogrammetry, which is really just taking a picture of an object from every angle, right? Like you can scan it. There's apps that do that already. And essentially what a custom model is it looks at that, it takes all the images and trains its own database on it. It trains its own model so that you could generate this. Within an hour, we took the photos, put this up, and I made this little brand film just to show it was possible. It's not winning any Clios. It's not winning any awards because it was just an example. But we took the images from the custom model, and then I used Firefly to prompt everything that I want. Every shot in this was prompted and generated within Adobe Firefly. The starting image, right? And I kind of worked with those images and took those into Runway, which then generated the videos, the individual clips. Just think about every clip that you see is what was generated here. And then I generated all the sound effects within 11 labs really quickly. And then I generated all the music with stable audio. And so I'll show you. So everything except this last frame here the text was generated. Sorry, one second. So within this was, like I said, took 1 hour to do. But like if this was a client's mascot or a character that they use in social media, we built this model one time within Adobe custom models, and now we can use it forever and quickly get to something. So for us, it's about, with our experimentation anyway, is like, how can we make these things and set up a workflow that we can easily get, so let's say this was like I said, a client's mascot, right? And something happened in the news and we want to do a reaction or like a funny video about it. In an hour, we could have a response out, right? Is it the best? Is it the most cinematic thing? No. Could it be better? Yes. And will the tools and will the animation get better? It will. But the fact that we can do this and turn this around that would have cost and, months of development time, now it gives us the chance to actually try things, to pitch things in real time, and then to go from there. Okay, so that's it for the presentation. If you want to download the AI landscape report, we are coming out with another report probably in the second half of this year. It'll be updated with more tools and a little, the landscape changes every single day. In here, I wake up in the morning just dreading what the news is going to say, especially yesterday. But that's kind of like you need a full-time role if your company's big enough to have somebody to go and vet a lot of these tools. But we try to take a lot of the pressure off that for people that can't. So thank you very much. Saw a question back there. Did you answer my question? Okay. Thank you.
No, that works out. Yeah. It works out easy.
Any other thoughts or questions? Yeah.
Are you experienced is Edelman participating in the content authenticity initiative? Do you know much about that?
We're not. I don't think that we're part of that. But do you mean for like the
for tracking what's AI generated, what's not AI generated, provenance is?
We don't do any of the tracking, but we live up to the standards. So any time that there is an AI generated image or video that goes out, we use our standards to say that it is AI generated. I don't know why there's feedback. I'm not going to care. We do say that there's that it is AI generated. We put disclaimers in the credits of things and it was like that. Yeah, but I think it's very important. But an aspect of that is you can use the credentials. Like if I generated something in Adobe, right? And I just posted it on social media, it'll give the credential, right? Because a lot of those companies are doing that. But the minute I go and I edit it, if Photoshop is not doing it, right, it's not going to give the credential there. So like it's like our system, like we're in the very early days, right? So I think that we'll get there, but we're looking at everything and being transparent about the use of AI. Yeah.
So are you saying that by doing that, your AI machine, as you've built in, actually will go out and find the credits and then place it in, or are you still having to do that?
No. I mean, if we produce anything that's AI,
that's you.
Then we will be transparent about it, and we're transparent with everybody about it. And we put the disclaimers on it, but we don't do anything with the active credentialing.
So what's really refreshing about this is like everybody's talking about the production in AI and how we're approaching it and where things are going. It's really still work. You still have to pull this together, and he's explaining how their learning process is coming into play and how they're approaching it and how the teams are starting to contribute. And, that is a process. So we talked about the early group of how we're approaching it in the industry, of how things have to be learned to really implement the overall benefit of any tool. And this is a tool, and this is like anything else that you've gone through in the evolution of technology. There's processes that have to be applied, and you learn from it. And this, being able to do it step by step, is really fabulous, Gage. Gabe, thank you. My son's name's Gage, so I automatically say Gage. But the thing about it is that you've given clear instructions and products that could be leveraged. Are there costs involved with those particular products? Like when you use those products? Oh yeah. So it's not free. So you're doing it.
Not for enterprise. Not. Yeah.
Like what would that? Just for a ballpark budget on that?
It's, Runway, we're talking about $100K package per year.
Lighting has a free version.
They have a.
There's a premium that you can try.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
There we go.
And you can use that, but you can't use it in any of the production tools, and you can't use it.
From a commercial standpoint, you can't use it.
I think most AI tools have some sort of free trial, but like, if I just stuck to the free trial on Runway, I wouldn't be here today. I looked at it.
Wow.
I used all my credits, and I said, "This what the hell is this? Like, it's not working. This is not giving me anything that I was expecting." But taking the time and having that luxury of doing that 48-hour film festival, said, oh, I have unlimited time, I have 48 hours. I have unlimited resources and unlimited credits essentially to try and test these tools. And I'm like, oh, it needs more than just one prompt and push go. I need to do this 25 times. I'm David Fincher over here doing 52 takes of something, of a tea being poured in the thing because it's not looking right? But that's me, and I'm very particular with the imagery, and I'm very patient, but also every director works their workflow differently, right? Like some people are one and done for takes. David Fincher, 100 takes, counting things together.
Yeah, I don't know who that would be. You know, that would be one and done. I think we were all guilty of being able to having to take a look at how things work and pulling it together to how we best feel the right direction's going. You know, it really comes down to the execution of what the teams are being able to do. I mean, how we learned from Accenture, Mark, you know, with all the projects that you're working on and how you're pulling that together. Every one of the software packages that you're using too, those kind of financial engagements?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Same that's.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as we, you know, it's one thing of coming in and trying to figure out new ways.
Or organizational size too. So don't be scared of that price tag if you're a small org. They have like great packages. Like to get the indemnification that you need, they have to pay for more insurances on their end so that your price point goes up in order to get to the point where you can, when you're going through terms of service, you can say that we need to redline this, and they say, yeah, not for 20K, you don't.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
but
very true.
They will for a higher package, right?
Sure. But then again, you know, I have an independent analyst group. You know, I have indemnification insurance. How many here as an independent consultant or advisor or producer carry that kind of insurance? Anyone? Indemnification? You know, no. So, you know, as you move forward, those are things that you have to be very mindful of what you present out into the marketplace in any capacity. Well, if you send it, you put it in an email, you know, that could bounce around to somebody. It can come right back and, you know, nip you in the bud. And it's costly because it's erosion of brand. And companies don't take that lightly. Cease and desist goes quick. That's easy. It's the background that comes back to bite you. So,
well, one thing on indemnification is, so we have clients that are like, we don't want you to use Firefly, use Midjourney. And we say, okay, are you sure? Say yes. And then we say right off that you're going to take indemnification, or you're going to take responsibility, or all indemnification is going to be on you.
Right,
so
right in the deal.
We will use the tools that we need. It's just, where does the liability fall, right? And it always, no matter what, it always falls back on the biggest brand there. Right? Because they're going to be the ones to. So if you're working for a big brand, they need to make sure that they want to take that risk. And everything is, you know, from an enterprise standpoint, very risky right now.
yeah, that's the wonderment of commercialization and advertising. That's the beauty of it. That's what keeps it all sane and controlled. Okay, this is fantastic. Oh, we have. Okay, here's the question.
You said with Firefly, you use that at the enterprise level, but for an individual level, which might be a lot of us here, you said Midjourney. Is there anything in the video category or audio category that you would recommend for the individuals?
I mean, it depends on if you're doing that as like client work, you got to tell your client what you're working on and just say, these are the tools that I use, or these are approved by you. Will you take on, you know, the ultimate liability on this and not me? Because you need to go and read the terms of service of Midjourney. Go and read the terms of service of Suno or Udio. All liabilities pass back onto you, the user. Does that stop me from putting out, you know, an album that uses some of these tools? No. I don't think I'm going to get sued by using it. I don't think there's any way that you could tie any sort of, you know, training data thing back to me. But people aren't going to go after me. They're going to go after the big tuna, right? So I think you just, like, it's all in the terms of service. And if you don't know how to read them, like I said, copy paste, put it into ChatGPT, ask it the questions that you need it to, and it for the most part gives it a pretty dead on answer.
Yeah, this is another example of indemnification, that answer. It's no fault of his own. You've got one last question. We've only got a second or two.
Curious about on the enterprise side, when you actually use these tools that are doing processing in the cloud, aren't your original assets like up there, or whether or not they're original or not, like maybe the prompt is stored by their servers, or you upload an
Oh yeah, it's. I mean, it's one of the biggest things that we look at is what, anything that's cloud based is how are you storing this? What is the data management like? What are your are you actually training on it, right? So then it comes down to a business decision, really. Like, is this something that we absolutely need to do to get this project, or a client wants us to use to get this across the finish line? Yes, but so is every other thing that's out on the cloud, right? Like you're taking it from one computer and putting it to another computer in the server somewhere else, right? And I don't know how much of these terms of services and that we're reading on every other type of cloud thing, but yeah, I mean we have AI principles that we have within our company AI usage, but then also when we're looking at these tools, within our IT department there, I mean, it's taken me 10 months to get Runway onboarded, and I'm a creative partner, right? It's taking that long because IT takes their time. They do the scans, they do everything, right? Which, unfortunately, small companies don't have the luxury to go and do. So then you just have to say, well, is this something I want to put up there, right? Runway doesn't do they say they don't do any sort of training on your inputs there. So it's whether you believe that or not.
Okay.
But I think that's time.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
everybody.
We're there.